Welcome to another episode of Mick and the Fat Man, coming to you live from the Raindrop Fountain at Roselands, talking life, music, and everything. And now here's the Fat Man.
Well, thank you very, very much, Princess Fanula, our favourite dairy girl. That's right, folks. We're back in Roselands. We're back at the Raindrop Fountain. Mick and I have been down to the Coles cafeteria. I've had a bit of delicious raisin toast and a ice cream soda, which has been delicious. And this just to fill us up before the show started. Mick, how you going? What have you had down here at the Coles cafeteria, mate?
Mate, I'm still currently munching down on a couple of slices of sourdough with cinnamon honey on it.
What?
Tastes just like raisin toast.
What amazing concoction is this? This is science, isn't it?
This is science and stuff.
Wow. Elon Musk has got, rockets that land themselves now. They fall off the edge of the machine and they come down, they land themselves. But he hasn't done fucking cinnamon honey, has he?
Well, he's actually, when Elon Musk populates Mars, which he's promised to do by the 23rd of November this year, he's actually going to take some of the cinnamon honey on board his is he SpaceX? Yes, I think he's SpaceX. He's got a special container to be loaded onto the SpaceX full of cinnamon honey.
Fantastic. They're going to have so much fun up there with that cinnamon honey.
Yeah, it's going to be great. And I think it's by special order of William Shatner.
Yeah, Big Bill.
Yeah.
Do you reckon they'll be smearing it on their bodies and licking it off?
I'm not sure that anyone in the world would want to lick cinnamon honey off William Shatner.
Oh, I don't know. In the day, he was a bit of a catch, I would have thought.
Yeah, but that day
doesn't
have a 2 at the first letter, first number.
He went into space. That's as you sort of point out. But I saw a tweet from him after he came back, and he said, "The world is round." I checked.
Well, thank God somebody did. And so I don't have to labour under this delusion of it being roundly, vaguely plate shaped.
I'd be kind of happy if it was a hexagon.
I think so. As long as it's got a little lip all the way around the edge to stop the ducks from falling off.
Or a dodecahedron. What about a dodecahedron?
Isn't that a three-dimensional body rather than a flat plate-shaped?
That's right. It's a 3. But it would make it more fun if it was a dodecahedron because you'd have to go around the corners when you got to the edge of a pentagon.
Yeah, but it would still leave the flat earthers completely out on the edge looking stupid.
But everywhere they went would be flat because a dodecahedron are flat surfaces. So it'd be flat and you just go around the corner and you'd be on another flat surface. It's complex.
Given the paradox of distance and angle, I think that we're on a round planet and everything's still bloody flat.
Isn't it interesting that this program is called Mick and the Fat Man Talking Music, and we haven't really we're talking about dodecahedrons,
but it also says talking shit.
Yeah, well, it is a fair bit of shit.
Yep.
Anyway, shall we move on?
Please do.
Now, we're going to do this podcast today, Mick, and I'm thinking, given that we're at Roselands, we're not that far away from Lakemba.
Let's get going.
And we can go and get a Resh's.
Yep.
When was the last time you had a Resh's?
Probably quite some time ago. And Vic Patrick's pub at Lakemba is the place to be.
That's where we're going to go after we do this podcast. So that's why we're not getting into the hard stuff too early, so that this podcast is coherent.
Ish.
Now, we haven't had any emails from our listener in Frankfurt yet, have we? Have you been checking the emails?
I've been checking the emails and we haven't got anything from him or her.
Oh.
Who are you? Tell us a little bit about yourself. The email address, the email address is mickandthefatman@gmail.com. Just a quick hello. Now, look, I know, and I've spoken to lots of other people. Last week we were at the podcasters convention.
Yes.
And we spoke to people and they said one of the hardest things to do with a podcast is to get people to communicate with you.
Yep.
Otherwise you're just talking to yourself. And whilst that's not a bad option, we would like to hear from our friend in Frankfurt.
Indeedy, Lordy, yes, because it's just not somewhere we thought that we would gain any form of interest. But we're very excited that you are there, Mr. or Mrs. Frankfurt.
And we'll do a broadcast from any place you nominate.
Yeah, we'll go there. We're going to go to Slavbard.
Haven't we already been there?
No, we're going to go there later. We're going to go to Slavbard and Lungevern and and have some expensive alcohol.
That sounds good.
Yep. All right. So the other thing I just got notified that we've been placed up on the Great Australian Podcast page, which is it's just basically a reference site for all Australian podcasts. So we got put up there by the Great Australian Pods page. So I'll put the link in there. So if you want to find any podcast that's actually coming out of Australia, we'll have a link in the show notes and you can see the list of all the Australian podcasts. But we're up on there.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's very nice. So I'm going to move right along and reference our favourite little book that we have at the moment, which is 1001 Albums You Must Hear Before You Die by Robert Dimery. And I've flicked open to page 384. And it's Fleetwood Mac's Rumours from 1977.
What a wonderful album.
It was. And if you remember, that album was hot on the success of one of the major singles that came out, Rhiannon, when I remember as a young teenager being quite excited by young Stevie Nicks at the time.
And she certainly was an attractive sight on television and to the ears with her song about a Welsh witch.
It was fantastic. I was very, very excited by the whole thing. Anyway, sorry, I'll just have to cut that a little bit out there at some point. So we'll go on to Rumours, and that was a huge album for them in Australia. 4 singles coming out of it, and if you remember, it was an album that was fraught with sex and drugs and rock and roll, I think is the right term for it.
Often at the same time.
Yes, there was, and there was sort of marriage breakups, divorces, and all sorts of stuff going on whilst they were making this album. So it's amazing that it's come out with. It was so well received
and so well crafted.
It's a beautiful album. There's some great songs on there, but I think it was. I was reading that the McVies had actually split up and wouldn't talk to each other except when they were talking about the album. Buckingham and Nicks were basically having this relationship that was on, off, on, off, off and on and off, blah, blah, blah. And Fleetwood's wife had an affair with his best mate. So, yeah. And you throw cocaine into that, what do you got? Rumours.
I think the important question out of all that you've just laid out is, did his mate stay his mate or did he become an ex-mate?
I don't know. Maybe it was his dealer or something like that.
Well, maybe, yes.
Yeah, but it was a great album, and there's some fantastic songs on there. And in the Australian charts, from memory, I think it got to number 1. It was where are we? Rumours got to number 1, and it was in the charts for 80 weeks.
Isn't that extraordinary?
February 1977, number 1, 80 weeks in the Australian charts. And overall, Fleetwood Mac had a very interesting singles sort of cross, because they actually came onto the charts in 1969 in Australia. They'd been around before then. Onto the charts in 1969, and their last record in the charts was 1990. So 20 years in the charts for a band. But as we know, they weren't really the same band all the way through, were they?
A constantly rotating membership list.
But yeah, so a very interesting band. Ended up really being one of the biggest bands in the world. Still are. They still go. I think they still go on tour. They're on tour not that long ago, weren't they?
They do. Christine McVeigh's retired, but she doesn't want anything to do with it anymore. But yeah, they and they've got Australia's favourite Aussie.
Oh yeah. What's his name?
Mr. Finn.
He's one of the Finn brothers. They keep on trying to tell us that he's a Kiwi, but you know, as I said to you before, he came out here when he was 12 years old to join 12 or 6 or something.
He looked about that. Yeah.
Joined Split Ends, and I don't know. Crowded House, was that an Australian band?
Most definitely.
Yeah. Had three members in that band. Two of them from where, mate? Two of them from?
Melbourne.
Yeah. Anyway, we won't dwell on that. We have dwelled on it before. We probably will continue to dwell on it.
Yeah. As long as there's a New Zealander left to rile up about that particular issue, we won't stop until we're finished.
I have a next-door neighbour who's a Kiwi, and if she's out in the backyard listening to music and she's listening to Crowded House, I always make sure I yell over the fence, "Great Aussie band."
She'd be thankful for that.
Oh, she loves it. She does love it indeed. Anyway, mate, let's shall we move on?
Let's do it.
What is going on downstairs there, mate? What is going on downstairs in that big square Globite school bag?
Globite school bag this week, mate. It's full of pages, paper and pages and writing and lists.
Oh,
we've talked about lists before.
We love lists,
but this particular list is to do with Rolling Stone magazine again.
They're probably the prince of lists.
Well, I think they see themselves, as we've mentioned before, as the keeper of lists. But here we go. They've come up with a list in conjunction with Sonos, the Wi-Fi sound people.
Yep.
And that list is in the latest edition of Rolling Stone Australia, and it's the top 200 Australian albums of all time.
Really?
Yeah. Now, you know my view on lists like that, particularly ones of all time, is that how on earth can an album be considered the best of all time when it's brand new?
Very true.
When it's only a year or two old.
Indeed.
These things, there's a huge difference between popular and all-time great. And popular can mutate into all-time great, depending on how long it stays around. And there's been some bloody awful stuff that's been immensely popular. Joe Dolce, I'm talking to you. And like all art, good or bad, albums need time to seep into the cultural consciousness. They need to stand the test of time.
So what I thought I might do, I might just do a quick countdown from of the top 10. We're not going to go through all 200. I'll just do a quick countdown of the top 10, and then we'll go back and have a little bit more in depth about them.
We'll do a bit of cherry picking on some of those, yeah.
So what I'll do, we'll start with number 10. Number 10, best Australian album of all time, Kylie Minogue, Fever. Number 9, Savage Garden. I have a bit more to say about Savage Garden in a minute. Savage Garden is the album. Number 8, Since I Left You by the Avalanches. Number 7, Crowded House by Crowded House.
Now, how on earth can they be on a list of the top Australian albums if they're not an Australian band? I ask you that.
They can't be. That's why they are an Australian band. Frogstomp, Silverchair. Diesel and Dust, Midnight Oil comes in at number 5. Hitting number 4, East by Chisel, which I thought was interesting. Whispering Jack, Johnny Farnham, The Comeback Man. Kick by INXS is number 2. Number 1, Back in Black, AC/DC, 1980.
I think AC/DC is the best Scottish band in the world.
So I must admit, I wasn't. When I first saw the list, I wasn't expecting Back in Black to be number 1. I wasn't sure what I was expecting to be number 1, but Back in Black is a bloody good album.
It is.
And I was just having a bit of a... It was the album that came out just after... Well, not just after, but after Bon Scott died. AC/DC were searching for a new singer, and it was going to be an important thing because really they were just kind of making and breaking it into the States, and this was going to be a major test of their ability to survive trauma. And they went hunting for a singer, and I would urge you to go online and have a look. I'll put a link to it in the show notes. There's quite a few interviews with Brian Johnson about how he got into the band, but I'll put a link to one of them which he talks about it. But it is a amusing story. AC/DC basically were looking for a new singer after the death of Bon Scott. They they'd obviously had a fair bit of trauma with his death, and this was going to be a pretty much a very important appointment into the band. And they just started breaking into the States, so they needed something to really get them going. Brian Johnson tells the story about how he was basically broke after the band Geordie broke up. He was left totally penniless. He was living with his parents. He was 32 years old. He decided, that's it, I'm out of music. I'm going to start up an automotive shop. And he actually had started the automotive shop up to basically repair cars. Gets a phone call from a woman, a German woman, in fact. He says, "We'd like you to come for a session for this band." And this is his words. And he says, "Well, who's the band? I'm not going to go and tell you unless you tell me the band. I cannot tell you the name of the band. I can give you a clue. AC/DC." He says, "What? So it's AC/DC?" I said, "No, I've said too much." That's how he tells it. It's probably apocryphal now, but anyway. So anyway, he says, fuck it, I don't know that I can be bothered. I'm too old. I'm past it. I'm not going to bother going. Gets another phone call from an old mate of his who's running a record company. He's doing a lot of ads. He says, "Brian, I've got a job for you. Do you want to come down and do a Hoover ad?" He says, "Oh, yeah." He says, £300 for the afternoon's work. He goes, "Fucking beauty. I'm down." Goes down to London, records this ad for Hoover, and then had teed up with the band to say, "Look, I'm coming down. I'll come and do the trial with you." And he walks out of the studio from where he did the ad, and has second thoughts about going across the road, basically across the road to where AC/DC are waiting for him to come and do a rehearsal with them. And he's thinking, "I don't think I should bother doing this." And he decides, "All right, I'm going to do it." So he goes across. The rest is history. He gets the job, gets the gig, and as he says, "Well, thanks very much, boys. I'm out of here." And they said, "Where are you going?" He said, "I'm going home." He says, "No, you're staying here." And found himself in the Caribbean pretty much straight away, and writes, "You shook me all night long," which is basically the first song he ever wrote with them. Massive worldwide hit. The album is now the second biggest selling album of all time in the history of the world.
Behind Thriller by Michael Jackson.
I know. Sold over 40 million copies.
Yeah, we might have a chat later about the numbers of sales. That's always an interesting expedition. But have you heard, before that, how they actually got his name and knew to call him?
No.
Bon Scott had seen him play with Geordie.
Oh.
And Bon didn't think much of Geordie, but he said, "They've got this great singer who I saw on stage, and he was singing, he was rocking and rolling, he was rocking so hard he just fell over on stage and he's writhing around singing on stage." And then you hear Brian Johnson tell it, "I was choking. I had something stuck in my throat and I was down on the stage choking to death." and that's how AC/DC's management got hold of Brian, because Bon had already pointed him out and said, "Yeah, go and have a look at this bloke."
I'll put another link in the show notes to the Geordie film clip on YouTube. It's really atrocious. But the funny thing about it is that Brian Johnson has got this huge lock of hair, massive amounts of hair, and he looks a little bit different. And also the glam suits, because they're a bit of a glam band. So he's in the glam gear, the shiny glam gear, the whole band is, with all this hair, singing mediocre songs, basically.
Yeah, well, as it was at the time.
Yeah. And so his life totally turned around, and voila, the rest is history. And, they then become really the biggest rock act in the world. Massive, massive shows. I was just watching the other night, just YouTube, just going through live AC/DC concerts, just a song at a time, and they were just amazing. They were just in a massive band, and they're all in their 30s. These are the old clips, and they're in their 30s and they're in their 40s, and they just do such electric concerts. It's just amazing. Fantastic band.
Yeah. I saw them a long time before this. I saw them live with Bon Scott.
Yes.
And Angus basically was a schoolboy.
Yeah.
And they were great then.
Yeah. And you remember, I still remember, he used to play with his teeth, he used to play with it behind his head, he used to play it on the ground, he used to play it all over, play the guitar everywhere. He did. I don't know whether he kept playing with his teeth, but he did back in those days when I saw him. I don't know when it was, in the 70s, I guess.
Would have been.
Anyway, so...
Yeah. But you talk about numbers, numbers of sales, and there's two distinct numbers for record sales. One is the number claimed by the record company or by the band, and the second is the actual figure that's able to be verified by independent organisations such as APRA and ARIA.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And there's often 100% difference between the two numbers. And you look at things like Thriller, Back in Black. In fact, the whole top 10, there's huge differentials between what they claim and what they sell. And then you can also go and look in there. So it's really worth doing this. It'll while away 15 minutes of your life, folks. But have a look in there and things like sales of Shania Twain, who's in the top 10 of all-time sales.
Yes, I saw that. And that surprised me.
1 million sales in Australia. So that means that every second bloody house has got a Shania Twain record.
And the same one.
Yes. And that's a frightening thought. It's absolutely frightening. And some of these numbers are just extraordinary, and you wonder where they get the claimed sales from.
Well, and now with downloads, downloads are now included in the sales.
Yeah, yeah.
So people actually, I guess that's a good thing because no one's buying records. Well, they are a little bit, but
yeah, it's disappointing.
It's still not many, but
we'll come back to that another episode,
another day. But look, let's move away from AC/DC. Second on the list, Kick by INXS. What do you think of that one,
mate? I liked INXS. It's probably the last one that I really, really found INXS to be a great band. We'd grown up with INXS as an Aussie pub rock band.
Yeah.
And you knows we loves pub rock bands.
Indeed.
We do. I thought Kick was good. I thought they were getting a little slick. They were well on their way to being the international stadium band and no longer an Australian pub rock band.
That's right.
I think one thing Kick, if nothing else, one thing that album has got going for it is guess who produced it?
Who?
Believe it or not, Mr. Chris Thomas. Now, one day we're going to find a record we can talk about that wasn't produced by Chris Thomas, but today's not that day.
Is that? I didn't even know. I didn't see that. That's fantastic, isn't it? God, he's a busy boy.
He's a busy boy. I really think that sometime this season we're going to do an episode on Chris Thomas and maybe a couple of other famous producers, prolific producers who've done really broad stuff. Yeah. The Pistols, Roxy Music.
Chris Thomas,
Chris Thomas, he's just amazing. And that's our Chris Thomas rave for today. But just before recording, Chris came in and had a look at the stuff they had, and he said, you need more songs.
Oh.
And INXS, they're whinging and moaning about it. So Michael Hutchins and Andrew Farris said, okay, we'll go to Hong Kong because they owned an apartment in Hong Kong, and we'll write some more. So they're on their way out of Sydney to go to Hong Kong, get a flight to Hong Kong. And just as they left their apartment building in Sydney, Farris gets a riff running through his head, and it's the riff for Need You Tonight. Oh. Okay, so he's talking to Hutchins, and Hutchins says, well, write it down, do something. So Andrew Farris, they've got the cab out the front of their building. So Andrew Farris says, I've forgotten something, and races back upstairs, and purportedly to go and get the thing that he'd forgotten. But what he was doing was he got his recording equipment out, and he was recording the riff for Need You Tonight.
Is that right?
So he's got this cab, and you know how friendly and jolly and understanding Australian Sydney cab drivers are.
They're very understanding.
So this bloke's going ballistic downstairs while Andrew Farris is upstairs recording the riff for Need You Tonight. And it's not recorded, unfortunately, how much of a bonus tip they gave him. But you can imagine that they got a mouthful from the guy.
That's right. Let's go to number 3, the great comeback man, Mr. John Farnham, Whispering Jack. Another one of these things coming out of trauma. He'd had a pretty good career over his life. He'd had those terrible singles when he was younger that sort of,
oh,
Sadie the cleaning lady. And he was Johnny Farnham, not Little Johnny. He's always called Little Johnny Farnham. And then he went on with quite a few little singles and stuff like that. Pretty boring shit. Then he got a job with Little River Band and is often thought to be the demise of that band.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame. They did an absolutely kicking version of Help, the Beatles song Help, with Farnham singing, but didn't seem to go anywhere.
No, and I heard a couple of the songs that he had with them, and I thought they were quite good. But really, they just sort of died on the vine. Interestingly, the Little River Band, all the people who were in the original Little River Band kind of left and left and left until somebody was left holding the ownership of the Little River Band who was never in the Little River Band.
Yeah. It's funny how that sort of thing happens. Yeah. That's not an uncommon story
No,
either.
and they forgot to actually transfer all their ownership. But anyway, so John Farnham came off the back of the demise of the Little River Band and came out with this album, Whispering Jack, which was
his 12th.
Forever and a Day. He's this amazing album.
Yep.
So
the story of where the name came from is awesome.
Yeah.
They'd been touring the US and they were in a jazz club in the US, and the announcer misheard the name because he wasn't familiar with the Australian accent. Yeah. So he thought that the band had introduced him as Whispering Jack Farnham, and he thought they'd said Whispering Jack Phantom.
Is that right?
So they introduced him as that, and so the Whispering Jack component of his nickname had come from Whispering Ted Lowe of Pot Black, the snooker program. Yeah. So he started playing on that and became Whispering Jack Farnham on that tour, Whispering Jack Phantom on that tour.
That's interesting.
Hence the name of the album.
So interesting. I just dived into the David Kent book of lists, the top 40 list. John Farnham had 34 singles in the top 40.
That's not a bad record, is it?
Oh, top 100, I beg your pardon.
Yeah.
34 and 10 albums. So, yeah. So when did... so anyway, he was prolific and started, once again, another one that started in 1969, first single, One Mr. Whippy, it's called, the first single he ever had out.
One Mr. Whippy.
Yeah, and then he had Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head, and then Conversation. None the wiser.
He's probably glad to have left all that behind.
Oh, I reckon. And then Walking the Floor on My Hands.
This is obviously a part of Mr. Farnham's career that we've missed previously.
I think it's part of a self-help group or something like that, perhaps.
And while you're there checking various entries in David Kent's wonderful charts book, it's probably interesting to note that this album, being the greatest, highest selling albums by an Australian ever, 24 platinum copies, 1.7 million, so which means that there was 2 copies in every house in Australia, which is extraordinary. They must have played the grooves off it. But the Just Like Crowded House couldn't get a run with Crowded House, just like Meatloaf couldn't get a run with Bad Outta Hell. This guy couldn't get a run. Glenn Wheatley couldn't get airplay for this album. So 3 of the biggest selling albums ever in the history of Australia couldn't get radio interest.
It's interesting because that album was, in fact, in the charts for 127 weeks.
It's extraordinary, isn't it?
Obviously got to number 1, but 127 weeks in the chart,
it's not very good. I don't think anyone will like it. We won't give it any airplay.
No, it's only in the charts for 2 years.
It reminds me of the guy from Decca, the record label in the UK, who passed on the Beatles.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
They'll never make it.
Yeah. They're not very interesting. Our audience won't like them.
Yeah, that's great. Great call, mate.
Yeah, great moments of our time.
It's like the we were talking about the Get Back movie, and obviously it concludes on the roof there. You wouldn't want to have been the copper who actually did stop them when they originally, because there was a copper came across the roof and actually made them stop. And you think, you go down in history as the biggest arsehole.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they should have shown his face quite well on the screen.
Number 4, East by Cold Chisel. Unusual, I thought.
I think we're a bit conflicted about Cold Chisel. Neither of us has ever been a big fan of Cold Chisel, but they do have a following that is almost Trump-like.
Yeah, I know. They're a great band, but I've never really been a big fan of their albums. I think it's probably they've got fantastic songs. They're an amazing live band, but I've never been a huge album fan. Anyway, that's life. Number 4, Diesel and Dust by Midnight Oil.
Yeah,
Worthy?
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. Now, if I was going to pick a song, I would have picked Diesel and Dust.
Yep.
Because, look, Midnight Oil, they've got so many different elements. They've got that larrikin element. They've got the
politics,
the political, the pub rock, the energy. But what I mean by the larrikin element is that they get told they can't do something, so they do it anyway with their fingers held high in the air.
Yes. And they toured extensively around Australia. And,
they did, yes.
And into the middle of Australia, into Indigenous communities and things like that. They were they practiced what they preached, I thought.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's just keep moving here. Silverchair. I think they came a bit late for me, to be honest.
Yeah, I can remember hearing their first single, Tomorrow, and thinking, wow, how old's this guy? And then I heard on the radio he was 16, and I thought, my God, what a voice you've got, boyo.
It was mature, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was amazing. It wasn't. Once again, I wasn't really. What was it? 1995? Yeah. See, my life was moving on pretty rapidly at that particular point in time.
That happens. But it's whilst rock and roll is a young person's game generally. It's unusual for someone that young to come out with a voice that strong and a first single that strong. Probably the only one before that I can think of would be Stevie Winwood. All the way back.
And I remember Frogstomp. Who was it that was Countdown still around then? I don't know.
95? No.
It must have been on Hey 8 Saturday where what's her name? Where Meldrum was espousing them as being the next great rock and roll amazing band.
Well, Molly clearly could call them better than FM radio programmers.
That's right. But I remember seeing Molly raving about them somewhere, so it must have been on Hey 8 Saturday or something like that. And the number 7, the Great Australian rock band Crowded House.
Well, I think our views on Crowded House as a band and that as an album are well known and well established.
Yep. The next one down, Avalanches. I don't think it's not our scene, really, is it?
No. Look, it's not my cup of tea. That heavily black influenced, American black influenced, funky type. The production, when you listen to it, is perfect. There's
beautiful.
Layer upon layer upon layer of stuff, found sounds, talking, music, all sorts of things. But for mine, I find the songs they run into each other and they're all a bit samey.
Yeah,
that could be my failing rather than the band's.
I think it's us. I think it's our era. Our ears don't work the same as young people's today, or something like that.
Oh, that's right.
It's our brain, probably. Yeah. Anyway, I like the song Since I Left You. I actually like that a lot, but the rest of the album I'm not really that excited about. But Darren Hayes appeared at Mardi Gras the other night from Savage Garden.
Yeah.
So he's back. He's going to do a tour.
Fantastic.
And this is 1997. My son loved this album.
Did he? Well, that's good.
It was a great album. It really was. But it's a bit poppy, sort of. But it was a good album.
There's some great songs on it.
Yeah.
I Want to Take You to the Moon and Back.
They're great.
You can't go wrong with it. But 23 million copies for the only 2 albums they produced. But
not a bad run.
I can understand them getting jack of being asked to have photo shoots in gardens.
It's particularly savage ones.
Oh, yes, indeed.
And finally, rounding out the top 10 is old Kylie. What do you think of Fever?
I think Fever is a great album. Kylie's not our cup of tea,
sure.
But Kylie herself is so talented and so fun. You see the way she dances. She's become a gay icon, which is great, particularly when you look at all of her influences. Her influences initially are 70s disco.
Yeah.
Giorgio Moroder, Donna Summer, Gloria Gaynor.
Scott Aikman. Aikman and Waterman.
Stock Aitken and Waterman were her first big production team.
Right.
She went over. The song for her first album, Kylie, she went over to England to work with Stock Aitken and Waterman, and they'd never heard of her, so they didn't care too much. She turned up, and they'd forgotten she was coming.
Is that right?
So they said, "Can you wait out in the hall a bit?" And they wrote, "I Should Be So Lucky."
No.
Just turned it out while she was sitting in the hall waiting. Goes into the studio, produces it, and we all know how the story ends from there. So Kylie in 1988. and Fever in 2001. She kept that going for 13 years. Well, kept it going to today, of course.
Yeah.
But I remember seeing her years ago on on Donny Sutherland's Sounds, the late night TV program, and thought, wow, she really can sing. She did an almost unaccompanied version. I forget what the song was, but knock 'em dead voice.
Yeah.
And there's no reason to think that she still hasn't got that voice. She's really able to turn out the songs. And can she turn out a commercial tune or what?
Oh, yeah, no, she's very she's a money making machine as well.
Absolutely,
she's smart, a very smart businesswoman, really, isn't she?
I think so. I think probably part of Kylie's problem, if you can consider it a problem, is that because she was so light and poppy, it became very fashionable, maybe part of the tall poppy syndrome in Australia, to knock her for exactly that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, go to hell, boys. She's done better than you or I will ever do.
Oh, she's amazing.
Yeah,
she is amazing.
So there's lots in Kylie. Whether that's the album to do it, I think it probably is.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know her albums, to be honest with you.
But her first album, the one with Stock Aitken and Waterman, that was also the biggest selling Australian female album for the 80s.
Oh, is that right?
So it's not as if one album came out of the blue and she had a big hit, that she built to it. She was a hit right from the outset with her talent and her approach. And
was she Neighbours?
She was,
Neighbours.
She escaped from Neighbours, married Scott.
Oh, that's right. That was big,
Craig
wasn't
Donovan, yes, and escaped from Neighbours and said, "I should be so lucky."
Yeah, and she was.
Yeah, she was.
And she was huge in England, obviously, wasn't she? And she's only just moved back to Australia last year, I think. She's been living in England for England or America?
Yeah, England, I think.
She only just came back last year.
Welcome back, Kylie.
She did. She came back last year through COVID. Thought it was a bit of a wake-up call. She wanted to come back. She realised that her family was here, and it was all very nice. And I was very excited. And I think there was a welcome party for her.
Oh, dear.
It's exciting, isn't it?
Well, I'm excited. I think it's wonderful. Those albums are great.
They're
not necessarily the ones that we would have put as our favourite Australian, as probably even the best Australian Aussie albums.
No. So
Aussie albums.
Give me a couple that you're interested in, mate.
How about Living in the 70s by Skyhooks?
How about Living in the 70s by Skyhooks? What a fucking amazing album.
It's absolutely
Remember when it came out?
Yeah.
I loved the cover. I loved the songs. I loved everything about it.
Yeah. And there was a lot of promotion. The promotion they did, Mushroom Records, Michael Gudinski, who's recently passed away.
Yeah.
The promotion on that, I think I've talked before about a program called Polaroid in Concert, which was sponsored by Polaroid, the film people, and it showed Australian bands live. And it was a late night program, so it was great. They showed Skyhooks doing all the stuff off Living in the 70s. And that was part of the promotional push. So they're coming out with this brand new album, first album, and everyone sees them live on late night TV, when you got Sounds and you got Rage and you got all that sort of stuff. And those people staying up late to watch it, they get Skyhooks in their full glam drag.
Ah, fantastic stuff.
Yeah, with the costumes of Shirley in satin and Red Simons in extraordinary makeup.
Yeah. You got to wonder about Red Simons. He's such a cranky old bastard. And he's in this amazing band.
He is, yeah.
And they actually ended up with quite a few records that did very, very well.
Well, absolutely, yeah.
And Living in the 70s was the first one, the one that we really cut our teeth on with them. And it was just an amazing album. Loved it to death. Wore it out.
Greg McCainch in his white suit.
Yeah, he was.
And he apparently quite a clever guy. He in later parts of his life, he ended up with APRA, Australian Performing Rights Association, as I understand it, because he's a lawyer. So he was heavily involved in Australian performers' rights and both policing and protecting those rights.
Oh, good on him.
So yeah, good on him. Yeah, that's great. And coming out in that suit was almost cowboy looking.
Yeah.
That was great. And they had so many things. And we were in Sydney. They were a very Melbourne band.
Yes,
but we could relate to it, because they mentioned all the suburbs, and we could put suburbs in that song, against those songs that related exactly the same experiences.
Yeah,
they were cheeky.
Yeah,
the first single was "You Just Like Me 'Cause I'm Good in Bed."
But
funnily enough, that didn't get played on the radio.
No, because the number one radio station in Sydney was
2SM,
which is
St Mary and the Catholic Church. Good on them, fellas. But Triple or Double J at the time, when they were good, played it as their first ever song.
Indeed.
So,
indeed.
Yeah, there's something for you.
I think Horror Movie was the main single, wasn't it? Later, was it?
Yeah. I mean, it was a great single too. It was really good. But Living in the 70s, first one that came out.
Right. Fantastic album. Big 10-4, big buddy. Yeah. Big tick there.
Yeah, it wasn't produced by Chris Thomas, I'm afraid.
Do you know who produced it?
Yeah, I do. It was Ross Wilson from
that's
Daddy
right.
Cool.
Yeah. It was too. I do remember that.
Yeah, who was the go-to guy for everything hit-related in the early 70s.
Yeah, well, he did pretty good for himself, didn't he?
He knew what he was talking about.
Yeah. All right, another album that's in Mick's top 100 albums.
Oh, look. How about The Boys Light Up, Australian Crawl.
Aussie Crawl.
Yep. First album, Australian Crawl. Out of the box with that. So a great number of singles. The song itself, the band itself, apparently we talked to people who knew them at the time, people in other bands who'd played with them, and so said they were nervous as hell when they'd first released their album.
Right.
Because obviously you release an album, it's a hit, what do you do next?
You tour.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot.
You tour and work, and what do you release after that, and will it be a hit? And so on and so on, all the insecurities that go with being a performer. But that album contained their first big hit, Beautiful People.
Fantastic song.
It really is a great song by James Rain. And I heard him interviewed talking about the song. And he said, the song was intended as a send-up of trendy inner city dwellers. Beautiful people.
Beautiful people.
and the garden's full of furniture and the house is full of plants. to their house decorating trends. And the reference to Robert Palmer. Now, Robert Palmer wasn't a big hit with Addicted to Love and Simply Irresistible until about 7 or 8 years later after this album. So at the time, he was a fringe artist with albums like Sneak and Sally Through the Alley. In English pop, you had to know him. And to have a Robert Palmer T-shirt said, I'm pretty cool. I'm cooler than you in the multitudes.
And did they mention Robert Palmer?
Yeah. Beautiful People, they got a Robert Palmer T-shirt in their travel bag.
I didn't know. Because he's the great mumbler of music, isn't he? The great destroyer of lyrics.
Absolutely. Do you remember there was a comedy show around that time called Fast Forward?
Yes.
And they did a parody of that particular song, and they did somebody doing James Rain's mumbled vocals with subtitles underneath. And so they started out with what looked like proper lyrics, and then it said something about this and something about that. So it was very funny indeed.
Yeah,
and it really captured it well.
Yeah, great show, Fast Forward.
Yeah, it was indeed. What about I'm Stranded by the Saints?
Saints.
Yep.
That was a great song, wasn't it?
It was indeed. The album was earth-shaking for Australia.
And it really was one of the very early punk albums of the world.
Absolutely, yeah. They were right. They were right on trend with that, but they didn't see themselves as punk. No. They just saw themselves as playing something far. We weren't terribly confident, said Ed Kuepper, so we just kept playing our songs faster.
I listen to Ed Kuepper quite a bit as a solo artist. He is an extraordinary songwriter. He just churns songs out. He is amazing.
Yeah. Thus spake the king of Eurodisco.
Yeah, I went and saw him at in one of the Spiegel tents one time.
Oh, really? Yeah,
in Parramatta, actually.
I used to see Ed Kuepper a lot. I haven't seen him much in recent times, but certainly if you hear of him playing, Sing Out and We'll Go, eh?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, he's very good. But he's got a very loyal following. They all want to hear. What was that song the one you said?
Thus Spake the King of Eurodisco.
That's the big one.
Yeah,
that's the big one. Everybody wants to hear that.
Yeah, and he had a couple of bands that he put together. The Yard Goes On Forever, for instance. Yeah, and some great albums.
Well, the funny thing was, he realistically, as far as I was concerned, he's quite a big artist. But at the end of the concert in the Spiegel tent, he was out the front selling his albums.
Yeah,
selling the merch.
A little like John Cale.
Yeah,
at the Enmore Theatre. Remember we talked about that a couple of weeks ago?
That's right. That's right. He's selling his own merch. It's sad.
Yeah, you got to make a buck.
That's right.
The band went to England after the release of I'm Stranded in 1977, around the same time as the Birthday Party and some other Australian bands such as the Go-Betweens. Notice how they all wanted to get out of Brisbane.
Well, Brisbane had so much going for it in the 70s, that's for sure.
It was certainly a pace setter as far as cultural
flights out of the town is concerned.
Absolutely. So Kuepper left in 79, but the band kept on producing other things. We should put in the mix that we're going to play afterwards. The playlist, we call it sometimes. A couple of songs. Eternally Yours and Know Your Product.
Right.
Two great Saints songs.
Okay.
So Kuepper came back in 79. He thought they were getting a bit too slick. So he came back to form the Laughing Clowns, and I don't know if you know anything about the Laughing Clowns, but have a listen to it. Very abrasive, very nasty jazz rock influence, and I funnily enough, I love it.
Of course you do.
Of course I do. But yeah, they were great, and of course, as you've already said, a very well regarded solo career.
Yeah, he's just got heaps of albums. He just churns them out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, all right, Mick. So just give us another one, mate.
Lovetown by Stephen Cummings.
Stephen Cummings.
Now, Stephen Cummings is a contemporary of many of the bands that we know and love, particularly of Nick Cave, and he was in the Sports, which was a very early Aussie pub rock band.
Yep.
And he after the Sports split up, he put out a wonderful series of solo albums, working with Andrew Pendlebury, who was the guitarist from the Sports.
Yeah, sure.
And this album in particular, it's great. It's about love, but it's not your typical soppy love songs. It's about
soppy love songs?
No. Miserable love songs. and the pain of relationships. The playing is great. Now, I know we've had a discussion about whether there's such a thing as an Australian style of playing guitar. Mm. I think there could be, but I can't quite put a definition around it. But
I'm going to send you away to have a think about that one, because I'm not 100% sure either.
But either way, Andrew Pendlebury's playing on this album is what I call an optimistic Australian style. It's acoustic-ish, and with bits of electric, and electric played as acoustic.
Mick coins the phrase "optimistic Australian style of guitar." Done. It's in the history books,
and it's great. It's got songs like "Everybody Wants to Get to Heaven, but Nobody Wants to Die."
I reckon that's a great song title.
That's a good candidate for the best ever song title, isn't it? It's just wonderful.
I'll just divert very quickly there. That's the best song title. Here's the best band name, who's in the list: King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard.
I love it. Yep.
That's all I'm going to say about it.
Yeah. Well, how about the one we were talking about for best album title ever? Tism.
Oh, great trucking songs
of the Renaissance.
with I Want to Be John Bottom's Coke Roadie.
That's one of your favourite songs of all time, isn't it? At least as a song title.
That is a great song. There's some great songs on that album,
and none of them about love.
No, they were a really very experimental band. I don't know that they should necessarily be in the top 100 or top 200 albums of all time of Australia, but they're still a very inventive and interesting band.
Absolutely, certainly worth listening to. Yeah, either way. Yeah. Another song from the album is "She Set Fire to the House," which uses the metaphor of a house burning down as the destruction of a relationship. After 7 years, Monica walks out, and that's all she wrote.
Leaves the flames.
Yep, absolutely. Whilst he's not maudlin, he's a bit sad in some of his lyrics. The song "If You Don't Want My Love" starts off with, "I don't expect you to do anything, just answer my calls." Yeah, which how many of us have been there? And overall, I think that's a fantastic album.
All right, business as usual, Men at Work.
Oh yes, yeah. Look, who in the 80s could go anywhere without hearing songs from this album?
You couldn't.
Yeah. Everyone who went on a Kon-Tiki holiday in Europe in the 80s had it as the theme of their holiday. Word of warning, don't ask your mum or your wife or your sister about what they did on a Kon-Tiki holiday in Europe in the 80s, because unless you're prepared to hear the answer, and believe me, you're not.
Or even don't ask your father either.
Absolutely, for that matter.
It's just all bad.
So this album, Who Can It Be Now? And, of course, the absolute Australian song, Down Under. I come from a land down under, which is not extolling the virtues of Australia. It's quite an interesting, scathing song in many ways. But the theme of it, I come from a land down under, that became a rallying cry across the world for ugly Australians.
And I think the line in there that still rings with me is, do you speak of my language? Which is so Australian, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, he just smiled and gave me a Vegemite sandwich, yes. The songs were simple, with an accessible beat and a melody. The production wasn't complex, which I know that you would love. Yeah. It just put the songs, first and foremost, all there. The album was extraordinarily successful. It was number one in Australia, the US and the UK. It sold 6 million copies in the US alone.
Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. So they did very well. And the singer, Colin Hay, another bloody Scot.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. It's lucky we don't send them back, otherwise we'd have no music at all.
That's right, we would have nothing. Without the Scots and the Irish, we'd be up shit creek.
Yeah, absolutely. This particular album and the song Down Under had two major associations. The America's Cup in 1983. Yes. That was the unofficial theme song when we won Australia too.
The boxing kangaroo.
Absolutely, yeah. And Down Under. And then a later one in 2010, Spicks and Specks, the rock and roll quiz show, asked a question: what children's song is contained in the song Down Under? Now, surprisingly, no one had ever thought of this beforehand. And the answer, of course, is Kookaburra, as in Kookaburra sits in the old gum tree. And Larrikin Records owned the copyright for Kookaburra. But that was despite a common view across the industry, across Australia, that it was public domain because it was such an old song and such a well-known song.
Because it was published in something like 1900 or something, a long, long time ago.
Some ridiculous thing. Yeah. So, but Larrikin owned the copyright and took them to court, seeking 60% of the royalties from that song, which would have been more than a pretty penny.
Yes.
The judge, however, found in favour of Larrikin, said, you're absolutely right, but where they'd asked for 60%, he awarded them 5%. And even that was on a limited proportion of all the royalties. So I think he's fair.
Yeah.
A legal point, the tune did belong to Larrikin, but get a grip, boys.
Yeah. And look, it wasn't the predominant part of the song, but it was
an obvious part of the song. It was obvious. Yeah.
But you know what? I could still never hear it. I never heard it.
Is that right?
Even when told that that's Kookaburra sitting in the old gum tree, I still couldn't hear it. It's bizarre.
Yeah.
So that's why I sort of was really surprised that it actually won, because I'm thinking I still can't hear it properly. Not very easily anyway.
Wow.
Anyway, it was evil. Let's keep going. Moving down, a couple of other little ones. There's one that sort of stuck out to me that's in the list, is the Loved Ones. Way back, the Loved Ones. What an amazing band. We'll put that in the show notes for you to have a look at. One for me, big time, is Goodbye Tiger by Richard Clapton. That's I don't think it's not in the list. Mm-hmm. But there are a couple in the list, and one in particular that I want you to comment on, Mick, and that is Nick Cave. Sitting at number 13 is Murder Ballads. That's the top Nick Cave album in the list, number 13, Murder Ballads. Now, where do you rate Murder Ballads?
I don't.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
That people have said, fantastic album. I don't mind the album. There's some good songs on there, but
it's Nick Cave after all, so it is great.
Nick Cave has got some pretty amazing albums. It should probably be above Murder Ballads.
Yeah, look, to rate it at 13, I think that's possibly a function of who you've asked the question of. Murder Ballads, a little bit later than some of his great stuff. I think Tender Prey should be on that list. Unless I've missed it.
I don't think it is.
I don't think I have. I think Tender Prey is a great Australian album, and it set the template for everything Cave's done. It's not a copy, but it set the style for Nick Cave to proceed to be the Australian rock god that he is.
Yeah.
Boatman's Call
is a great
album. A fabulous album.
That is on the list, but way down.
It's 70 odd. Yeah. It's not that far away from Murder Ballads. No. And Murder Ballads is a great album, a great Nick Cave album, but really, and it's much the same as we talked about with the Rolling Stone Top 500. Where's the relativity in this? Songs that we regard as absolute perfect gems of songs of all time, for that matter, lucky to make it into 500.
But I guess Murder Ballads does have a song with Kylie on it.
Well, there you go.
So we got the best of both worlds, haven't we?
We did indeed, yes.
There's a couple of others that are in there because we're sort of moving up in time a little bit. But Archie Roach, another great Australian performer.
He's great. And as we talked about a couple of weeks ago, songs about Australia, he's indicative of the great increasing acceptance of Indigenous performers in Australia.
Paul Kelly's in there multiple times, as expected.
I love Paul Kelly.
As expected, he should be in there.
Yeah.
Icehouse is there. I still like Icehouse,
Which Icehouse album?
There's a couple in there, I think. I can't remember now. But I'd still like Icehouse. It's good. They're a good band.
Yeah, well, and again, we saw them a few times back in the early days, and they were great.
When they were Flowers, I think.
We saw them as Flowers and Icehouse one week about, yes.
But I thought it was interesting. I heard Ivor Davies talking. We're talking about Moog synthesizers and stuff like that. Ivor Davies is one of the early people, though he was an oboe player. He was right into all the early Moogs and stuff like that. So he was playing around with programming synthesizers and stuff back in the days as well. Cool. We're talking about Eno as being one of the, and he was very much into that sort of same stuff as Eno was as well.
Excellent.
Very interesting. The Whitlams.
There's no aphrodisiac like loneliness.
What a great song. What an amazing song.
Yeah.
And another band that I always found who never really made it particularly big in overseas is Powderfinger. They had so many powerful songs, and they never really went anywhere.
Yeah, I don't know what the reason is.
Huge in Australia.
Yeah.
But they never really got that far per se.
Well, America's only interested in what America produces in the main, unless they get something else by mistake.
Yeah, accidentally passes through.
Yeah. It's hard to know.
Maybe King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard might do all right over there.
Well, I think we should re-release it immediately.
I mean, there's other bands in there. We talked about Silverchair. They're in there multiple times. But bands like Tame Impala, which I don't mind Tame Impala, but I would think to myself, I don't know that they're worthy of greatest album just yet. They're still a bit new and stuff like that. And so there's quite a few young albums in there that you probably can't really gauge as being some of the best albums in the history of the world type thing for Australia. And and that's what you're saying up at the start. When does an album become great? It needs time.
Is it? Do you become great when the Wiggles cover your song?
Well, you do, don't you?
Well, there you go.
Maybe that's it. Hoodoo Gurus.
They're great. Really, really. I've told you the story about how I saw the Hoodoo Gurus on stage in Sydney with Do Re Mi, and then went to Rochester in New York and saw them again.
I know, that's bizarre.
Isn't it weird? Bizarre. And I didn't even know they were going to be there, so I just happened to see them. It was fantastic.
What an amazing... They're such amazing pub rock band and great albums, great following, really amazing band. And been hanging around for years and sort of became one of the great rugby league
theme songs,
didn't they?
Yeah, you've made it when you were a rugby league theme song.
Well,
in company with Tina Turner.
That's right. What's my game?
Yeah.
So the list is interesting. We'll put the link to the list in the show notes for you to go and enjoy yourself. And there actually is a Spotify playlist which actually doesn't play all the albums, just plays the first song off every album, which is dubious, I'd say, because some of the, obviously not always the first song is the best song on the album. But anyway, we'll put the link into there as well. We'll put a few links in from our own stuff as well, just because we can. And we'll call it quits. So,
just as your voice carks it.
Thanks very much, everybody.
Thanks, Mick. Thanks, Fat Man. I feel better already.